Hey, everybody. I'm going to wait till Ty gets on here and we are going to talk about anxiety today post stroke. So, again, this month we wanted to bring to you awareness, Mental Health Awareness Month, and some of the different things as stroke survivors that we've dealt with post. Let me bring Ty in here. What's up, bro? Let me see. It's not. Hey, you in here, Ty? Oh, there we go. Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. What's going on?
Nothing much. How's your day been?
It's been good. It's been good. As this mental health awareness month, I've just been making a conscious effort to slow my days down intentionally. So, it's been good.
So that's great to start with. Due to the fact that's what I was just telling them, due to Mental Health Awareness Month, I wanted to bring to forefront of fruition everything as stroke survivors, things that we've been dealing with, some of the major things we've been dealing with post-stroke. And how we came up with our topics, guys, was between myself and Ty, we decided to pick 3 or 4 topics that different definitions or I guess adjectives that came to our mind when we talked about post-stroke, of different feelings of mental health awareness that we were dealing with post-stroke. And so that's how we came up with the topics. And today's topic is anxiety. So I'm gonna start off with anxiety. When it brought myself to mind, as in I'll give you statistical charts that say with anxiety and post-stroke, that's part of mental health awareness. Some of the most common things we deal with as stroke survivors after we've experienced a stroke is anxiety, depression, sleep disorders, all of these things that are natural. I think next week we were talking about sleep, all of these things, but being today we were talking about anxiety. On my end, my end, the type of anxiety, one of the main things I know for a fact that I still deal with, and that the reason it's to the forefront of my mind today is because one of my friends, she goes, hey, we were going out of town. She's like, you want to drive? I said, absolutely not. She goes, huh? You usually drive. And the weird thing is I didn't even pay attention. Post-stroke, a long distance, I don't drive. Like to go out of town, and I'm usually the one that I was like, yo, y'all can jump in with me. I'll drive, because I'll drive 20, 40 hours with no problem. Post-stroke, so then actually looking at it, that's one of my anxieties that I notice now, again, because it was a conversation today, like, yeah, I actually don't, I'd rather not actually be the one to say, hey, I'll drive. I'll sit in the car with you while you drive, but I don't want to be the one to drive. And that could be still due to the fact of the lack of proprioception that we're still dealing with post-stroke. Even though I can see and do everything, it's a type of unawareness that I know that I do have to actually do a long distance. I don't want my body to get, and I can say that being that I know my body in times that I get tired, like my left side just wants to get lazy. So for me to go drive a long distance, I know I'm not jumping and say, hey, I'm going to do it because I haven't done it post-stroke. Not to say that I cannot, but I'm just not going to offer myself because, again, in natural realms of me being around the house or going to the gym or anything like that, if my body is tired, my left side is going to do the total opposite. It's just going to lackadaisically move and do all these things. So to me, to get to say, hey, I'm going to drive a long distance, nope. I'll sit in the car while you drive. So that's one of the things that I wanted to highlight today with myself. And I'm going to ask Ty if he experienced that, as it's just something that literally popped up today as she said. And I was like, no, play, I ain't really drove post-stroke for long distance. She goes, wow, I never thought of that. And I said, I really didn't think of it either, but I know I'm not offering my services to drive. I'll sit in the car while you drive.
So for me, my anxiety at post was social anxiety. So I didn't like going to like big spaces with new people. And that was tough being a social person. So I pointed that out when I would go to the mall, because then I would start to have like mini panic attacks like in the mall, like where it would impact my breathing and things like that, just because I had social anxiety being out and about after, post stroke. So for me, that was the biggest thing. I still drive, and I still take the lead on driving. For me, where I saw my anxiety was socially.
That's good to say. That's one I wouldn't quite say that I've had. I don't know. I've always been such an outgoing person. I don't honestly think that hit me on the social end. But I'm an outgoing person, but at the same time, you know what? I'm thinking about it now. I'm an outgoing person, but at the same time, I'm such a homebody. I have my times as I'm the biggest ambivert. Like I love to be around cars, but at the same time, I love my space. So I get into the mode a whole lot where it's like, no, I'm good to be by myself. So I don't know. I never really measured that, as I wonder if a part of that is social anxiety. But now think about it. I kind of believe that's how I always have been. Like, I love being around people, but at the same time, I'm so good with being at home by myself in my own space. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't really say that.
Yeah, for me, I'm a social person, so I mean just naturally by design, like being the life of the party is me. I walk in the room and I'm just social. So I noticed, yeah, going out like in how I felt, figured it was anxiety because it was just like a fear of being out, a fear of being seen, just uneasiness. So the definition of anxiety is a feeling of fear, dread, or uneasiness, right? So for me, it was like, wow, why is this, why is this happening? And it was because it was me projecting my own thoughts of myself as far as like what when people were looking directly at me or looking at me in my head, I'm projecting what they're thinking. And it's the thoughts that I have about myself, I'm placing it in their head that, oh, they're thinking this about me, so I need to go home. So it was like, okay, I had to change that. Now I'm back to being, a social butterfly, but it took a bit of time for me to one own up to the fact that that I had anxiety, and then to be open to talk about it and really understand it, because you look at it like, oh no, I'm just a little uneasy here and there, but I'm like, no, every time I come here I have this feeling, so I started to try and understand what it was.
So how would you say you are now, like with your whole anxiety with going out and being social with everyone and just in any space?
Oh, I'm fine now. I mean, it took a lot of work because that's why I was saying I have to be intentional. Once I realized what it was, I had to be intentional with how was I going to get through it. And like I said, anxiety is a feeling, so it's me projecting the feeling for me, it was projecting the feeling that I was feeling about myself in, into others' minds, and then like, hey, they're looking at me thinking this. So I had to change my thought process, how I felt about myself, and then I'm like, okay, nobody's thinking this. Like even these days, people when I see people, they're like, hey, if you never told me that this happened, I would have never guessed. So it was a matter of me just changing my mind so I can then change that feeling.
That's actually great for any survivors that are on here just thinking about the whole aspect of the mental awareness of understanding the uneasy feeling. That's a part of anxiety. We may all relate to it in so many different ways. As I said, they kind of relate anxiety and depression. That's the same thing in so many senses. I can say for myself in the beginning, I would say right in the middle, the beginning started of my stroke. I would say in the first year would be more of the time, more of the part where I dealt with more depression, anxiety slash depression as, and that was on my own. And now I can say thinking about, and it's weird how my brain, like when I start to talk about things, then I think about things in the past. So the part of the social anxiety that actually hit in the beginning, now that I'm thinking about it, because the depression hitting and like, hey, you know what, let me stay in the house until I get myself together. Let me not go here, let me not go there. And thankfully, by the grace of God, I jumped out of that very fast to say, you know what, this isn't you. Get up out of the house. So I was in that state of mind, that state of depression, that state of social anxiety in the beginning. And I would say, honestly, it took me about 7 months to get past that and get outside of the house. And then now that I'm thinking about it, I can relate to the fact that I didn't really get out of the house because I was thinking like, yo, everybody's gonna be looking like, yo, Trey, what happened to you? What? Because I was not so vocal in the beginning of what happened. Yes, I made a post say, hey, this is what happened, but and everybody like, bro, we seen you. You look fine. But it was still my own thoughts in my own head
Mm.
to say, hey, I don't want to go out. And I will say I am blessed because it was a short sense to say, hey, I want to go out because what if my left hand doesn't respond? What if this doesn't respond? And guess what? The reality was it wasn't. And then I soon got that out of my head and said, you know what? I am going out. And I was very open to tell people around me like, yo, left hand ain't working today. Left leg ain't working today. So if I tell you to do this, and the thing is, it's about your awareness and being around people that you can trust, to
Mm-hmm.
trust with your emotions, to trust with the lack that you cannot do on your own. And everybody around me, it will be like, yo, you need, like, I appreciate the fact that people around me, they would jump to do it first. So therefore, I wasn't left to say, hey, I attempted to do it, it didn't work. They would just naturally pick up like, let me open this door. Let me. I'm trying
Yeah.
to think somebody somewhere in the beginning I went to and they grabbed my plate, started cutting my food. I didn't ask him, but it was like, thank you, because next I would have been like, yo, can you cut this for me? Because we know both hands ain't working. So it's really, I would say that is a blessing, being the fact that the surrounding of people, my family and my loved ones, took that part away of my anxiety to say, hey, I can't go out because my left side isn't working. They were like, yo, we know she has this affected side on her left side. So if we go out in public, I'm going to make sure I protect her so that therefore she doesn't have to deal with the fact that somebody say, hey, why couldn't that girl open the door? Why couldn't her, or why did her hand get stuck, or why did her hand get balled up? It was kind of like, yo, we took the lead to say before it happened. And that's a blessing at the same time that I'm saying it, because I'm such an independent person, and likely I wouldn't ask. I'll get to the point that I ask when I absolutely cannot do it, but I'll try, and then I'll be like, dang, they'll be like, yo, you want me to do it? I got it, I'm gonna keep on doing it. So I could say for myself, that helped me with to actually monitor my anxiety with everything, to just keep pushing myself. And the strip that I kept giving myself, do it, do it, do it. May not be done right, and it may take 15 minutes where I gotta have somebody else do it. It take 2 seconds. I'm gonna keep working it. And it actually was a blessing for myself, because that helped me get past it a lot further. And it helped me heal and to get through the whole anxiety with just life in general of getting back post-stroke.
Right. Yeah, for me it was mine didn't kick in until year two. So what I had to start doing was getting out of my own head and realizing all the things that I did in year one that I would limit myself in believing, that I couldn't do in year two. So when I thought about it, I was like, hey, you got back to walking, you got married, and 3 months later you were jogging. 3 months later you traveled, you went international. 3 months later, and you went back to work 6 months later, or tried to go back to work. And so it was like, okay, I have to figure it out. And where I realized is the anxiousness was not being present in the present moment, right? So I always say that anxiety comes from wanting to be somewhere else outside of where you are. Typically it's, as a survivor, it's, hey, I want to be in wherever that healed timestamp is. Who knows when it's going to be? We want it to be as fast as possible, and then that's where our mind takes us to when we're, hit the goals that we want to hit. And because we're living in that space, like, man, I can't wait till I get there. You're anxious in the present moment that you're supposed to be in, because you're so worried about, the future.
Yes.
And so for me, that's why I said, hey, I'm intentional with slowing down, because it's so many things designed for us to speed up naturally, that you can give yourself anxiety. Like for me, like I always say, my anxiety was self-inflicted, because nobody could tell that anything happened. Nobody, knew. And I had the support system around me. I remember traveling to Mexico in my second year, and at the resorts they do, at night it's lively. It might start like, I remember they started like a dance, like circle of like whatever, Mexican traditional dance. And I was going across like the room to like get a drink or something, right? Then somebody grabbed me to get in the circle, and I almost had like a meltdown, like, because I'm like, just get off me. Like, and my friend, he saw it, and like he is a therapist, so he came and like, just, I'm like, I'm just trying to get over to the other side of the room, y'all. I'm like, the floor is like, for me, I'm just in my head, the floor is slippery. If I fall, I'm gonna be embarrassed. But so I'm just in my head, and my friend can see it, because I'm like, hey, get off of me. And so he comes over, and just gets me to where I'm trying to go. And so, it's about having that support. And so most people have been like, yo, what was that, man? And he knew. And it was like, I saw what was going on. So it's like, I'm in Mexico, in another country, and my support system is still, showing up. So for me, that's why I say it's you. I understand and I honor the anxiety. For me, I still have it. But I know for me, I know what works. It's making sure that I'm present. Like if I have a moment where I start to get anxious, I'll go outside in the sun. I'll go for a walk. I'll, meditate. There's different things to do to get yourself back in the present moment. And like one thing I tell people, if that doesn't work, maybe take yourself out on a date or something. Like just do something to get yourself out of your head and back into the moment of where you are.
Like, actually, I like that, taking yourself out. So therefore, it's you. So, and the thing is, the reality is, as I'm thinking about, if you're taking yourself out, as we're not really in the moment when we're someplace where it's a bunch of people, because we're thinking about, as you said, what they're saying, what they may be saying about us. And in reality, most people don't even see that. It's our own self. So taking ourselves out by ourselves, we have that moment to sit there and think about, like, and I actually like that in a sense. I was in that saying that because I just told somebody, sit by yourself for a moment,
Mhm.
so therefore you can understand what's really going on. And
Right,
at the end of the day, if you actually sit there and reflect on everything around you, like, you know what? I'm the one that's tripping. Nobody else is tripping. Nobody else is looking or saying these things about me. It's me. So when you sitting there by yourself, you have to really reflect on everything that's going on within yourself and the things that you could do on your own with. It may not be so, and I always use, it may not be pretty at all times, but at the same time, when you sit back and realize, you know what, it's really not that bad, or I really don't look like what I'm telling myself I look like. I really can do this on my own if I sit back and reflect to take some time. And again, as Ty keeps saying, live in that moment and slow things down. With we think about the whole anxiety level, it's our body racing, and so people have anxieties in different ways. So thinking about one part where so many people think it's just anxiety. Oh my God, my heart racing. It feels like I'm about to have a heart attack. There's so much going on around me. What that is, the reality is like everything is coming down on you at one time. Maybe some people might have to close their eyes. So think about it. It feels like everything's caving in on you at one time. Close your eyes and imagine that there's nobody else around. Put yourself in your safe space to say, hey, this is just me. Try some deep breathing to actually go to, like Ty said, in the meditation phase of, hey, let me back up. Let me slow this thing down. Let me slow my mind down, slow my thoughts down, slow my heart down, to say, hey, I'm good. I'm good. I made it here and I can get out of this situation. And if we actually take, and I've done this before, if you actually take yourself into that place, you can come out so much a better person. As it again goes back to, we're in our own mind to say, hey, the whole world is looking at us. The whole world is wondering why we look so funny. The whole world is wondering why we can't do these things on our own. But the reality is nobody's doing that. So we
right,
have to figure out different ways to say, hey, break out of that mode, break out of that mind. Yes, we want to get to the next place. Yes, we want to get there faster. But if we slow down, if we could get there in 2 minutes, it would be great. But if it takes us 20 minutes, we still get there. We got to appreciate that. And that's like living in that moment to appreciate these things. Yes. And even I could say for myself, I'm still not gonna jump in the car and take and drive for the long trip, because that's still, I don't know when that's gonna come with that whole proprioception. Because at the end of the day, I know I'm a great driver, but I can't control everybody around me. So I don't want to be on the road driving multiple hours and have to worry about, yo, I'm tired. And again, it's just that conflicting factor of what may happen to my left side when I'm tired after multiple hours. So yeah. So saying that to say, I'm telling you to take a moment. I'm gonna take a moment for myself, but getting in the car, driving on a road trip long, I'm not driving. So there's
right.
different ways that we can go back and look at that. I'm good with, and I could say the advancement from that is, I remember at the beginning of my stroke, I actually would not be one to jump in the front seat because it was so much going on with the lights, the cars and everything. I actually remember like hiding in the back seat. Like we're going somewhere and we're on the highway. I'm getting in the back seat, I'm closing my eyes because it was so much going on. So just
Hmm.
think about, I can relate, so many people relate to anxiety, like everything's coming towards you. The lights, the cars, left, right, everybody switching lanes. We already had that disruption in our brain post stroke. So it was like, it was an overkill to my mind. Like, what is going on with these lights, this and this? I can't look to the left. That's what I was like to say. I can't look to the right. So I really only see this one side. So therefore, it's the same with trying to get in a car to learn how to drive after your stroke. You really don't have all of your motor skills and everything to figure out, hey, can I do this? So me, I didn't even want to get in the front seat. So now I've advanced past that. I'll drive and do everything with no problem. And I'm good with being in the car by myself. But I realized a long road trip, and I know I'm not going to be in the car by myself. I just don't want to drive. I'll roll with you. And honestly, it might be crazy. One of these days, I'm going to step out of it because to me, I think a lot of people can't drive. So I know it's a lot of people I won't get in the car with because I'll be
Yeah.
like, no, play. I'm just good. I'm just good to not go, because if I have to take a long trip with you, knowing I already think you drive weird, I don't know, that's all the thoughts that's coming in my head. But to me, that was the first thing that came to my head with today, that I realized, like, yo, I have not driven myself on a long trip post stroke. And I'm good with sitting in a car and letting somebody else drive as long as you know how to drive.
And I think that's another thing that, giving yourself, self-awareness is another way to avoiding anxiety or limit it per se, knowing what your strengths are, knowing what your weaknesses are, and being able to self-assess. So like, it's like, hey, I don't feel comfortable taking this long drive, so I'm not even going to put myself in that position, right? So therefore you eliminate that anxiety that could come with that. Like, man, I had this long drive. For me, if I take a long drive, I still like to drive. I'll just go. If it's a long drive, I'm driving with someone. So that's how I eliminate that. For me, it used to be with like walking. Like one, I used to run all the time, right? So now I know in my mind, I'm like, man, I gotta. Is my leg going to allow me to get back to the house? And so when I start to feel that, then like my mechanics will break down, and I'm like, oh, hold on, take a second, breathe, breathe. Like you're not worried about like we're worried about getting back to the house. Just worry about these next few blocks right here, right now, and you keep doing that and break it down and slow down, you'll eventually get back to the house. And I make it back to the house every time. And it's like, what were you worried about? Like nothing, you just in your own head. It used to happen all the time. Like I would go, me and my wife would travel. I remember being in DC and we walked blocks to like the museum, right? And I'm like, man, now I got to worry about. I walked to here. I walked around the museum, and it did nothing. Everything was fine. Mechanics and everything was fine. The second I start thinking about, now we got to walk back. What's going to happen? That's when everything started to break down. So therefore, I try to limit my negative thoughts, the negative self-talk. So then another example, we go to New York. New York block's crazy.
Everything.
So I have no thoughts. We're just strolling through New York, this museum, this restaurant here, and it's like I have no issues because I'm not thinking about what's going to happen. I'm just like, hey, I'm here to enjoy the day. I'm here to enjoy this moment. We'll take it a moment at a time. And even so, I'm with my wife because and it's like if something does happen to your leg or with your leg, she knows we got to slow it down. So what are you worried about? So, it's limiting the thoughts, being able to, being aware of it first, then being able to control those thoughts. And then if you can't just slow down and take a moment with yourself, whether like you said, just close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, go outside. I've seen something where people start like they tap their foreheads or tap something. Um and I tried that before, and I'm like, it brings me back to the moment. Or I'll like rub my arm or something, and it's like, that's just that self awareness of where you are right there in that moment. So those things work for me to avoid, well, to limit the anxiety because I'm not taking nobody's anxiety
Listen,
medicine. I tell you that.
I'm cool. I said I roll with it as much as I need to because of the simple fact I'm not taking nothing. And I would, since you said that some doctor did try to prescribe me something, and I'm gonna tell you how tricky these doctors are. He was like it was something, or because I was anytime a place hits with stroke, somebody anytime you have a headache, and I'm down not a normal thing. Go talk to somebody. This new neurologist, he goes, I'm gonna prescribe this to help the headaches. I'm like, but they're not that deep for me to take it easy. No, it's just gonna make sure you don't get any more. I looked that mess up. I ain't got no, I'm not taking no depression, anxiety medicine. What the hell? You
Yeah.
like, I had to look that up. Like, sir, I'm not taking this. Like, you actually, and they'll be so quick to throw that on you. I'm good. I know how to control any sort of that. So I tell you a headache, you give me the underlying, which is depression and anxiety. Sir, I'm good. I can control it. I know how to sit back and take my time and reflect on it. I'm taking all natural. Exactly.
Right,
Natural herbs is all I'm taking. That's what he said.
right,
I'm taking all
right.
natural herbs.
Cause look, right. So I tried it, and why I had to make the decision to like, hey, I'm done with like medicine, and I don't, I'm no doctor, so let me put that out there now, so nobody get in trouble. I'm no doctor.
We're
This
not
is not medical
doctors.
advice.
This
This
is
is
organic conversations of how we deal with what we deal with.
so when I went into the depressive state and anxiety, it was I forget sertraline, which and it made it worse. I'm like, why am I not in control of my emotions? Like, I was fine. I was way better off before taking this. Then it was like, okay, let's try something else. And then it was like Prozac, right? So them bottles is still on the dresser, like, just because I haven't found the right way to dispose of them properly. And then I just start looking it up. Okay, doc, you said that this is what you see in me as far as symptoms. I look it up, and then it's like, oh, natural remedy for that. Sunlight, go outside, boost your
Exactly.
serotonin levels. I'm
That's
like, okay, I'm gonna
for
just go
most of us
outside
is
for a walk.
sunlight.
And then it was like, oh, work out. Okay, work out. And then I noticed when I worked out, that's what I would do. If I started to feel down a little bit, I would just go work out because I would instantly feel better after I worked out. It's like, man, what was I tripping on? So it's like, for me, you tell me what you think that I have, okay, what does this medicine do? It's for what? To boost serotonin levels? All right, Google, how do I naturally boost serotonin levels? And it's like, oh, go outside. Oh, okay, cool. And so it was like, all right, the internet is a powerful tool. It's going to tell you what you need, Now, like I said, some people might be at a state where they need something to control that. But, for me, I was always going to try the natural route first. And the natural route just worked better than the medicine for me. So, for me, I haven't had surgery. I don't, and one of my speeches or one of my talks to occupational therapy class, they asked that I have surgery, and since I didn't, is this something like that I worry about? And I'm like, no, because then you're gonna be living in fear. I just gotta live. I know it's there, and I just can't let. I get anxious if I just think about, oh my God, is this headache? Am I bleeding again? Or so it's like I just stay in the moment, like of where I am. And that has helped me tremendously because if you start, you could get through the rabbit hole of getting diagnosed, and you think on a deathbed or something based on what these doctors telling you, and then take this medicine. Next thing you know, you're on 8 different medicines that's like impacting different systems. For me, I'm like, okay, this helps with this, but what other
What
system
are the
is it
long-term
impacting?
effects? Yeah.
Like, okay, is it impacting my liver? Is it impacting my kidneys? Or what is it doing? So that's why I went the natural route and figured out what's best for me. And then it's nothing like going outside, because what did we do before medicine, was a thing? Like, just natural herbs and remedies, right? So if it
Sun,
worked then,
dopamine, the things that actually open up these natural pathogens in our body. And at the end of the day, it makes us feel so much better. The medicine helps for that, may help for that medicinal purpose, but at the same time, then you say, then what's the long term effect? Where if we could go work out, we feel great with that dopamine release, but at the same time, it's helping us holistically. So we know a long term effect from a workout is going to strengthen us in so many ways, our mind, body, and spirit. We don't know what the effects of the medicine. Again, we're not medical professionals. We're talking about recommendations, things that we've done, and how we dealt with different relations post-stroke with mental health awareness. But at the same time, it's really just be in that moment, as Ty said. Be in that moment. Look at, if the doctor says, hey, try this medication. If you don't want to argue with the doctor, say, okay, like Ty said, get home, Google that, and say, hey, what does this do for? Let me find the holistic, natural way, or something for yourself. And then, as he said, you may be a person that needs to go that medicine route. I myself, I'm not going to medicine route. I like the natural, holistic way to heal ourselves in so many times. And I learned with my different anxiety or depressive states that I've had post-stroke is to really sit back, pray, think about it, be in that moment. And then another thing I always tell everybody, it's my faith that's helped me get through so many different things. My faith, you got to find something that you believe in, something that's going to get you up out of the rut.
yeah.
And with anxiety, because that is our topic, mine is sitting back and actually thinking about it. Like, yo, you're anxious because of what? So much around me. Close your eyes and sit in that moment and relax. And then I had to say, because you said how some people start doing that tapping, I found myself, and it was weird. I was watching a movie and somebody was having an anxiety attack. They started doing that. I found myself trying it. And
Yeah, it worked.
I was like, wait, what the? Because I was watching the movie like, what the hell are they doing? And then she was having an anxiety attack. And it was weird because then her daughter was having one. And she was like, oh, shoot, what did I do? But she didn't even have to do anything because the daughter started doing that. She was like, she just did the same thing I do for my anxiety. So like it's different things, and the reality is that I'm thinking about it. This is like, hello, we're in the moment, making yourself aware. Like, but it's like slowing your brain down. Like, hey, you're looking at everything else around you, but something like this or patting your mind, it
Yep.
takes you out of what everybody else is doing. And now it's like, this is me. This is bring yourself back here. This is me. This is what we're dealing with, and it
Right.
actually does work.
Right. And I'll close out with, that works. And then for me, it's just human interaction, right? I think in the day and age where everything is so robotic and automated, it's like you lose that human interaction. And for me, what better thing than a human interaction to help me through? Like we as humans have been through similar situations, so it's like, man, I'm in the moment, let me call up, if my wife ain't home, let me call up my brother, let me call up my mom, let me call up one of my friends, or let me go to lunch with one of my friends and see and connect. And it's like, having somebody there definitely helps deal with that anxiety. So that's one thing, is being in the moment, but then also remembering that we are human and you need human connection and interaction.
That's good. I appreciate y'all as always. Ty just closed out for us talking about anxiety, a true organic conversation between two survivors. We will see y'all next Tuesday. I believe our topic. I ain't gonna tell you because I might be lying. We'll see y'all next Tuesday at 4:30 Eastern. I remember what the topic is.
Is
All right, appreciate
fatigue.
y'all.
All right.